Hey, everybody. Happy Wine Wednesday. I finally got a wine glass. Talk about a reason to celebrate, right? I finally am not using the mason jar. Anyhow, I don't think we're on Instagram because I just realized that I didn't put the little code in. So if we are on Instagram, then don't forget, if you're not seeing the full picture, you're not seeing our faces, you can head on over to YouTube. We're very close to 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we're going to do a contest soon. You have to be a subscriber on YouTube to win. So get over there and subscribe to us. Otherwise, everyone who is with us tonight, happy Wine Wednesday. I hope that your week has been fabulous. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving if you celebrate. I hope everybody's ready for the other holidays because, boy, I'm not. And with that, I'll hush and we can get to chatting. But yes, happy Wine Wednesday. Hope you're doing well. Holly, how are you today? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, Holly.
Good.
Anybody who doesn't come every week, I so far today I know Ray Ford usually comes, but he had a game to go to, so he will not be with us tonight. I think Dan is really busy too, but I do have Holly and Cheryl with me tonight, so enjoy chatting. If you ever want to jump in the video and chat with us, just say the word and I'll give you the link. Otherwise, we'll talk to you in the comments. Okay. All right. How you doing? I'm sorry for interrupting. How you
So
doing, Miss Holly?
cheers. It was a crazy busy day. Today was my tank cleaning and maintenance day.
Whoa, boy.
Also multitasking day with my insurance stuff because it's open enrollment on Medicare. So doing that all at the same time. And had some people asking about how thing two is doing. He's still with me. He's in the hospital still. He's been a
Aw.
long time, and if he makes it, it'll be a long time. But his tail is improving. He's able to swim and he's able to eat, but he's still kind of floaty. So I don't know. I still don't know if he'll make it or not. But I'm willing to give him the chance. So working on that, and everybody else, all the other seahorses are doing great. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I had some. Go ahead, Cheryl.
I was going to say, I'm going to be in and out because my shipment just arrived about 10 minutes ago, and my son is going to be cooking dinner, so you may hear some extra noise. I'm floating the seahorses right now.
nice.
Oh, new
Well,
guys, or where are they from?
these were ones I ordered in October from Ocean Rider,
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
and they kept canceling shipping. The
Mhm.
male is a beautiful big orange. Of course, I got them in really low light. They're floating right now. They finally arrived. Hallelujah. So, and the female, I'm not sure if she's orange or yellow. She looks very orange to me. Uh, so at this point, I'm going to kind of be running around a bit.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
No problem. If it gets
exciting
to,
though.
yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to see your big, beautiful orange to add to the collection. How are your babies doing, Cheryl?
So far, so good. Just hanging in there. Uh, they're of course working on it again. And one of the males, he's acting very pregnant. He's hiding and he's coming down to eat, but he's not moving real fast like they'll do. They'll tend to do that when they're pregnant. So he may be pregnant again.
Well, I do have a quick question before you go back to him. Don't want to keep you from the seahorses, but remember how I told you, I talked to you guys a few weeks ago and I was just, oh, I still haven't fixed my alarm either. Sorry for the beeping, guys. But got to get a tall ladder to get up there. But anyways, I told you guys a few weeks ago that I was just positive that my male was pregnant because number one, they danced for 3 days, all white and bumping heads and all the good jive and stuff. Then I saw them doing the spin. I never saw the egg exchange, but then I never found eggs. And this is an all-in-one. So like
Mhm.
there's nowhere for them to go. I would have had, you know what I mean? I would have had to have seen them somewhere, I would think. And I see Holly shaking her head. I can't wait to
I
hear. But
I never find eggs either. I found ones in the grow out tank actually a little over a week ago, and that is only the second time. I've never found eggs, but I have seen, I have seen them dancing. I've seen them go through, all the motions. Now, can the female not deposit eggs and absorb them back somehow?
No. No,
What
I thought, wait a minute. I thought, Cheryl, you said yes. I thought if a female did not get rid of the eggs, then she became, what's the word?
Not egg bound.
Bound or whatever. Yeah, egg bound.
The
So
thing is,
can they absorb them back?
Females can reabsorb eggs. It just depends on their metabolism. And it has been documented that females that appeared to be carrying eggs, no dropped eggs anywhere, have suddenly gotten much slimmer again. It's also the other thing is young males will sometimes get pregnant, and they may either abort the pregnancy in terms of partially developed fry, and I've seen that happen also. So you've got two things there. Did the female
Right. But see, in this case, okay, so I didn't quite finish because I wanted Holly to be able to talk. But so they did the dancing, they did the twirling, 3 days of this crap, and then they absolutely stopped. And he looked. Remember, I told you guys that he looked unhappy. I guess I would say, like, just like I thought personally that he had eggs and he wasn't really sure what the hell was going on, but he was, not as excited to eat like you're describing. He'd still eat, but he just wouldn't be as fast and he wouldn't eat as much. And then his pouch got bigger. Like my daughters said, Mom, he's pregnant. And he had this big old pouch. It never went down. I showed you guys a picture. It was big. It was, he looked pregnant. And then, and he would still every once in a while dance with the girl, but he would not open his pouch like you described, Cheryl. So I was like, okay, he's pregnant. And like the days keep on ticking by. And you had told me 17 days and we're going on. Well, and I know he's not because they started dancing again. And I saw him all of a sudden opening his pouch and inflating his pouch. So I'm like, did I miss the fry? Oh God, are there, here's my problem. And Holly, I hear your point, but I always have found the eggs when they, if they miss, because I'm always constantly paying such attention because I want to get it on video. But I never found eggs. I never found underdeveloped fry, like as I've seen in, a male abort before. It wasn't that. And I never saw fry, and now they're dancing again and he's acting pregnant yet again. But I'm like, are these guys just retarded and they're faking me out or what? I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. That's not a nice word.
I go through that a lot, Kelly. So I don't know. I'm curious to find that out too, because mine are busy. And in the display tank, I can understand if she's dropping eggs somewhere. That tank is partially reef tank and there's shrimp and fish in there. So maybe somebody's getting them. I'm not seeing them.
Caviar.
But in the grow out tank, there's nothing. There's nothing but the seahorses. It's bare bottom. And I see them, doing their thing, but I only found the eggs the one time. And I'm curious too as to, what's going on, what happens.
Well, and I do know too that Heather, because she was going to send me fry at one point, and she was convinced that her male was pregnant and she was getting ready to go on a vacation and she wasn't going to be able to care for him. So she was going to try to ship him overnight to me. However, it got closer and closer and she was like, I'm not sure what to think. I mean, he looked and she'd send me pictures and he looked pregnant. And then she even said, okay, well, there's the warning fry has come. And I'm like, yeah, but then she figured out that it was a different male that was pregnant. Like, so how are these males faking out pregnancies?
I've seen them flush crap out of their pouch. And maybe like it's like a miscarriage type situation and you don't always catch it. And especially maybe when it's their first times when they're young. Because I have seen, like, that's how I figured out Scrappy Doo, I was pretty sure was pregnant because he was acting like it. He was even doing the twitch, like they do before. And I saw stuff come out of his pouch. So I'm thinking he ejected them before they were ready.
Well,
Before they were baked,
I have
perhaps.
seen that happen where, in fact, I sent up some pictures showing the different sizes uh, that almost a year makes in terms of the parents maturing. I've also seen very young males prematurely deliver. And again, depending on what you have in your tank, if you've got shrimp in the tank and stuff like that, those fry have no chance of making it at all. And
Right. And well, great. Go ahead.
yeah, they're typically going to hit the bottom. And
Mhm.
when instead of rising to the top like they normally do, it will hit the bottom. And if you have any kind of cleanup crew in there, the cleanup crew is going to get them before.
Sure.
Mhm.
No, and that makes sense. And like when I first got seahorses, the very first male's pregnancy, I changed the lighting on them, and it like shocked him and he aborted them. But then I had little, I don't even know how to really to describe it, like little still they had a head, but then there was a sack and a little teeny tail coming out.
Mhm.
They were not formed, and obviously they weren't gonna live. But I still saw them. And like with Holly, I get what you're saying. Maybe I missed him sputting out stuff, but if he had acted pregnant for the full like 2 to 3 weeks,
Sure.
I should have saw something. I'm confused. Like what happened?
Remember, one of the things that happens with the male is they provide the essential amino acids to the developing embryos. And with a very young male, he may be lacking enough
Right.
amino acids to be able to sustain them. And I have on occasion seen very young males deliver premature fry and also a lot of dark, discolored, obviously deceased fry at the same time.
Oh,
And I'm assuming that it has a lot to do with their current ability to sustain a pregnancy.
right. Well, I mean, I will definitely keep you guys updated. I just wondered if you guys had seen that before or what, because I'm
I
just
have in young males.
okay.
Mhm.
I
Well,
remember
yeah.
one erectus male. I knew when he got pregnant because I saw the egg transfer. And he was maybe 10, 11 days into the pregnancy, and he delivered quite a few underdeveloped fry.
Gotcha. Well, all I know is I'm going to be ticked off if they go and get pregnant right now because we're going on vacation on the 16th, and I'm going to be ticked if I miss the first batch. We have all
Yeah,
talked.
guaranteed. That's their kind of
I
timing.
Yeah.
Yep,
But I
I
think
know
it's
it.
an individual seahorse because Sandy, I want to say he had 5 or 6 batches, before he passed. And he started young. He had his first batch when he was 5 months. And none of my other male seahorses have done that. And he was pregnant pretty regular, not every couple weeks like they say they can be, but about every 8 weeks he was having fry. And I think it might be just an individual thing with the males. My males I have one that's a little over a year old, Scrappy Doo, and he's starting to learn what he's doing now. And I think he's been pregnant once, but he didn't carry them to full term, I think is what happened. And
Mhm.
I've got a couple other young males that are kind of starting out, and I found eggs on the floor of that tank the other day. So I think they're working on it, but some may just be better than others at
True,
Yes.
true.
it.
And I'm just glad to know that Cheryl's seahorses from Ocean Rider are pushing out babies
Mhm.
because I know when years back when I thought about buying from Ocean Rider, they had a whole program and you had to like literally promise to never breed them or whatever. And so I just kind of thought the back of my head, I wonder if they're doing, I don't know. I mean they're not. The point is they're not, because Cheryl proves they're not, because her seahorses are having wonderful, beautiful, great fry. But it just in the back of my head, it was like, if somebody was selling seahorses and didn't want them to breed, how would they, conspiracy type shit. So excuse
It's
my
hard
language,
enough anyway to raise them, so I don't think they have to worry too much.
right. True.
About the competition.
Only people like Cheryl, right? And in my case, like if I do miss the first batch because I'm on vacation, I'll be bummed out and I'll be crossing my fingers that any whatever happens, like if they don't, obviously they wouldn't make it without me feeding them, and my house sitter is not going to know anything, and I'm like, oh God, I hope it doesn't like make the tank fill with ammonia or some disaster because it's overstocked or if they pass on. So those are my fears, but I'll obviously be keeping in touch and have to tell them what to do. But even if they do have the first batch while I'm on vacation, the first batch, the only person I've ever heard of having a really successful first batch is Cheryl. She's Cheryl, everybody else.
It depends on the size of the seahorses. It depends on their physical condition. There's so many different variables because we miss so much in terms of feeding the fry, what we're feeding the adults. And it's one of the reasons why I feed aquacultured amphipods. And I've altered mycin shrimp for them specifically to increase their lipid profile. And it's essential for development. And without those, you're going to get smaller fry, you get less viable fry, and you're going to get basically fry that don't do as well in terms of your numbers. But the reason I'll tell you, I only keep 2, maybe 3 pairs of seahorses at any given adult pairs at any given point in time, because I reached a point several years ago where I had hundreds.
Yep.
Ranging in age from 4 to 5 months on down to newborns. And when you get an 80 or 90% success rate, you're pulling out your hair.
Yep. No, I know. Well, I'm in a situation where I have the 65 currently only has 3 seahorses in it. The 90 is empty. I'd have to fill it back up, but I've got pre-cycled K1. So I'm really it's just the experience for me. I just want to make videos showing the raising and showing the, and that's the other thing. When I do go on vacation, guys, I am going to go visit Dan, and I'm going to try, hopefully, if he's not too busy, to get him to sit down and show me like using peroxide with the hatchery and how he hatches brine shrimp and all that good stuff. I'm going to try to get you a video on that. So stay in touch, but go ahead.
One thing I'm going to be experimenting with, and I actually had this discussion briefly on Facebook with Chad Clayton there at Reef Nutrition. And what I want to do is, in raising your practice, is provide them with copepods, saltwater copepods that I've aquacultured as their first food rather than brine shrimp.
And are you using the Panamensis Apocycloxyphenomensis? Yeah.
And they're easy to raise. They don't require live phyto. You can feed them the algae paste. They reproduce very rapidly. And they're one of the things, one of my experiments, because I know I can see better growth. And my principle is when I have viable fry, they should double in size in the first 7 days. By 2 weeks, they should have doubled in size again. And if they don't, I know I've got a problem. But I mean, you have to understand, the first time I was ever successful raising fry, I managed to raise 12.
Right. No, exactly. My first success was 1. It was little Cheryl. She was the mascot of this channel. She's no longer with me, but she lived forever too. She was tough as the Cheryl she was named after, which you're an awesome Cheryl too, but it was another one. Anyways, no.
By the way, what's a vacation?
What?
What's a vacation?
What's a vacation? Right. I know.
Yeah.
I'm not even. I'm not even.
Copepods. Can you put a link or message me with the spelling on, or put, what type of copepods those are?
I'll put it in the description right now.
Tells them as their apex pods.
Apex pods is what they call them.
Yeah, I can message you.
That'd be great.
Panamensis. I experimented with them. work with Tisbe. I mean, I work with a number of different species, Parvocalanus, and the Panamensis are by far the easiest for me to work with.
Now, my first ones that I had, well, it was Sandy's second batch. That the first batch didn't make it, but the second batch, I had 5 survivors, and it was actually because I had copepods on hand.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think because I wasn't ready with the brine shrimp, so they did survive that for their first few days. It was the wrong kind of pods. Yeah, it was the Tigger pods, but some, they still made it on those. So
Wow.
I'm thinking that's a good thing. And they were so easy to raise. I just kept them in buckets. And then
Mhm.
when I needed some, I just scooped some out. So I think that's a great thing to just have on hand. And I was feeding them like you said, there's like a algae paste type stuff, and
Mhm.
I mix it and freeze it into ice cubes and thaw it out and make a solution to feed to them. And kind of the way I feed my brine shrimp when I'm raising the brine shrimp. So they were easy, and something you could always have on hand. So if you're not expecting fry and all of a sudden you have fry, which is what happens to me
Well,
usually,
well, I was gonna
then you
say,
have something to feed them.
if you never know, wouldn't it be like a Christmas miracle if while I was on vacation he did have fry, and because of all these pesky pods I've got in there, they lived.
Yes.
But
Could
I got if
happen.
you
Hey,
first. Oh, real quick, wait, real quick. I want to say, hey, Mermaids Reef. So glad that you were able to join us this week. Hey, Melvin's Reef. Hey, Salty. So glad you're all with us. Don't forget, if you ever want to jump in, just let me know. I'll give you a link. Or if you have anything to update us with on your current tanks or seahorses or reefs, please let me know. And any questions, of course, it's open chat. We're not doing any heavy speakers because the holidays. It's just hectic. Anyways, go ahead, Cheryl, with what you were going to say.
I forgot.
Okay, I know I rambled, but I do have another question for you, Cheryl, because I'm going to reach out to Chad at Reef Nutrition, because I think the Apex pods are a good idea, and if I ever get these pods that I've got in here ID'd, well, that'll be interesting, because maybe I could take them out of if I ever get them out of the dang tank, I could culture them. Guys, if you haven't been with us in the past few weeks when I talked about this, basically I fed live Artemia from a store that I should have done something with. I should have cleaned the Artemia before feeding. Let's just put it that way. And I didn't. I just trusted. I rinsed them, but I didn't like peroxide or any of that stuff. So I put them in, and all of a sudden, like a couple of weeks later, now I got these copepods. They're so tiny you can't see them. Like I have to get a microscope to ID them, and the population exploded so hugely that they're like, I'll see them crawling on the seahorses. They're a benthic pod, so they have to crawl along the surfaces. They're all over the glass. If I do a huge water change trying to get them out, they just multiply again. It's just insane. I finally gave up. At first, I thought they were bugging the seahorse. I still think they were bugging the seahorses, because I would see the seahorses scratch themselves. And when you see a seahorse scratch its gills, you got to worry about ciliates and
Yeah.
gill problems. But it was scratching like its side. It would scratch its side, and it was so weird. And all 3 of them were doing it. And I was like, what in the heck? And then I realized it's probably these pods. They're crawling all over them. And hopefully that's not affecting the pregnancy either. I didn't even think of that. I asked Chris Carey one time, could they crawl into his pouch? Because it's, even though he's sealed it, Cheryl, can they? Do you know?
I don't know for sure. It would depend on how developed the male is. Uh, I would expect if there was something like the tire pod, conceivably, yes. It wouldn't be an issue with some of the others, Parvocalanus, Apocycloxyphenomensis, those. It wouldn't be an issue with. But tire pods are known to be, basically, they're predatory.
Yeah, and that's it.
And I can hear them crashing.
No worries. It's open chat. But yeah, I'm really wondering now. I know I've been slacking, guys. I've got to get this thing ID'd. I'm so sorry. Once I ID it, that'll help us discuss it better. But I don't know what they are because I didn't add them on purpose. I don't have anything that eats them, which was a great suggestion by Holly. And so now I'm sitting here wondering, I wonder if these dang pods got in the male's pouch and ate the eggs or something. I know that's not really going to happen, but Cheryl's
If
looking.
it's a predatory copepod, conceivably, yes.
Really? Oh my gosh.
I would think
Okay.
so. I would. I've seen so many different things with males, and when a male delivers some live fry and then a lot of debris, I know there's something going on in the pouch, and it makes me start searching the tank to try to figure out what's going on, because they really shouldn't do that. And the thing is, years ago, people were reporting. The thing is, with the tiger pods, there's several different species that are, quote, tiger pods. And the ones that are proved to be a real pain are the ones coming out of California, because they actually have pincer-like hooks that they use onto rocks when the tide goes out. And they can literally use those appendages in other ways, kind of like a shrimp. I know what I was thinking. Years ago, when I first started, I had some shrimp in my adult seahorse tank.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I knew that a male's ready to deliver was the shrimp would all come out and head to the top of the tank and hang out as high up in the tank as they could. And what they were doing is they had figured out the male was about ready to deliver. They were going to the surface to snag the prize, so we're hitting the tank.
Right. No good.
So that's another thing to keep in mind. And when they start doing that and they're predatory like that, it happens really fast.
So I was
these guys are so tiny though. I don't know. I just got to get them ID. There's no point in me going on until I get them ID. Yeah. I do have another question about amphipods, but go ahead, Holly. You were trying.
So I just was looking at, because what I bought mine, they're called tiger pods, and they're from Reef Nutrition. Mm-hmm. And that's the only kind they sell in the pet stores here. So that's what I was raising. And the type, it is Tigriopus californicus. So that is the California one, right?
Those are the ones
that are bad.
Again, I'm going back many years ago, but people were describing with the true tiger pods out of California, they were actually able to get microscopic visuals of tiger pods inside doing damage to the frog.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So that's interesting, but that's the kind I have. That's what my mandarin eats. So I have, and I never see them, so I don't know how many are in. You know,
maybe it's that the mandarin's eating so many of them that they don't become a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, she's not starving, but she eats also the frozen mysis, tiny pieces. She has to eat tiny pieces, but she scouts around for that too. But that's what I fed my fry when they were, when they were young. And I don't know if it attributed to losses or not. My batch wasn't that big. I mean, my first batch I raised only started out at 20 or 30 or so. Well, and I got 5 survivors out of that.
And I bet, though, too, that it depends on the size and age of the tigers. Like if they're full grown versus you've raised them and they're smaller.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, but there's no knowing because they're tiny, and you scoop them out with a sieve. Like I use sieve from Brine Shrimp Direct. They come in different sizes, so I would size it to roughly the size that I wanted to catch.
Now, wait, I'm getting confused. Aren't the tiger pods? But wait, aren't the tiger pods the bigger orange ones?
The tiger pods are
reddish color. They were that big. I mean, they are orange. They're like an orangish red color, and they look like tiny dots to me in the jar when you empty them out. I'm sure, there's bigger and smaller, but they're so tiny. I can't tell the difference. But I do know when I first started out, I put them in the tank before anything else because I was preparing to have the mandarin. And I was told if I added copepods to the tank, wait a while, like I think it was like weeks or months or something, when I started to see them crawling all over the glass, then there was a big enough culture that it would survive and reproduce on its own without me having to add any, and I could put in the mandarin. So that's what I did. I had the mandarin before I had the seahorses.
Mm-hmm.
And I added the seahorses a few months later after I had the mandarin. And every once in a while, I replenish. I add another jar of the Tigger pods, like maybe once or twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I add them at night because that way they hopefully find places in the rock to hide before she eats them so they can reproduce. But I don't see them
Well, I was
anymore.
just gonna say I'm screen sharing the Reef
I'm seeing
Nutrition.
that. Yeah. So
Yeah, and
that's
those
what,
things, just to let you
They-
know, as we discuss this further, those things look absolutely gigantic compared to the pods in my tank. Pods in my tank are itty bitty,
mhm.
and those seem almost as big as baby brine shrimp, baby artemia.
Yeah,
the thing
the
is with
ones in that
these,
jar are bigger than I've seen in any of my jars, honestly. They were
Uh,
showing you a good jar. They're the
well,
ones that when I buy them, they're like specks. They're tinier than that generally.
and here,
the
really
thing
quick,
is with the
guys. Oh, go ahead, Cheryl. I was just showing
look
the
at them,
apex pods. Go ahead, Cheryl. Sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead. You're breaking up. Can you?
Eyes there.
It kind of got screwed
Sorry.
up. But do you want to try to say it again? Because it got jumbled. Sorry.
Okay, I was going to say the tiger are showing them coming in as adults at about 1,700 microns. The Panamensis pods that I like, they come in as adults at 600 to 700 microns. So there's a huge size difference there.
Yep. Gotcha. And one thing we do want to make sure we say is that most people will advise you not to pods are a great idea, and we're literally right now discussing possibly using them for fry because they might have a better nutritional profile. But for adults, I'm just curious with you guys or anybody in the audience, I've tried pods, and like the pods in there, my seahorses don't even give them the time of day.
They're too
The
small.
large ones, I mean adults.
They're too small. Mine don't hunt the pods at all, not even the Tigger pods. But that's cool that they have a website you can order from because they don't carry Apex pods where I live. They only have Tigger pods. So I can go on there and order Apex pods. And then I'm guessing the mandarin will like those just as well. And then they won't harass my seahorses.
Right.
But they've been living with them, just to say, Kelly. So my seahorses have been living with Tigger pods for about 3 years. And I think maybe they get annoyed, like you were saying, like if they're being walked on or whatever. I mean, I don't have a huge population because she's eating them, obviously. Right. But I don't think they're gonna harm your seahorses, really.
Okay, I'm going to try to do a screen share.
Sure, go ahead.
But
I definitely. Okay, well, it's at the very bottom, Cheryl. It looks like a crossed out computer down by where your microphone and all that is. At the very bottom.
Next to the camera icon. It'll be microphone, camera, and then a red line where it says share screen.
And while she's trying to figure it out, I will just say I definitely recommend Reef Nutrition. Chad from
Okay.
Reef Nutrition is someone that sponsors this channel, supports women in reefing, and as I said, this channel on Wine Wednesday. So, and not just for those reasons, but I actually have worked with Chad and known Chad for years, and he's actually done interviews. Go back and watch those videos. But he's an amazing guy, and the products they have, they really care about putting out quality products. So if he's selling you titter pods, I understand what Cheryl's saying, that certain pods are predatory, but I just wouldn't worry if I was buying it from Chad, so to speak. But go ahead.
Yeah. And I buy
Cheryl.
mine, from a local fish store.
Mhm.
So, so
Maybe reach out to
pods
Chad.
were pods. I didn't know the difference. And so,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but now that I know he has a website and I can go and order them, I can go order the right ones directly instead of just buying what they offer where I live.
And Chad is very good at coming back and, like responding on social media, whether you're on Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
If you reach out to him, he will respond.
I just shared a screen.
We can see it. Go ahead. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Basically, these are Panamensis pods.
Oh wait, you gotta open it up. I think you're sharing. We see like your computer. Do you see
Yeah,
what? Can you
click on
see
the
what we see?
picture.
Hang on.
Sorry, guys. It's complicated. I know. Yeah, try
Yeah,
double
there you
clicking on
go.
it.
It's not coming up.
Oh man. You know what? Try stopping the share, and then after you get it playing, is it picture or video?
A picture.
Okay, if it's just a picture, double click to open it. Okay, stop sharing right now. And then after you stop sharing, open the picture and try to re-screen share and then choose the picture, not the web page, is the only thing I can think of.
I think so. Yeah, open
I
it
gotta grab
first
something.
and then share, I think is the way to do it.
Yep. It's complicated. I'm sorry, Cheryl.
Every day is like that for me. That's how my day went. It was full of technical difficulties.
I forgot to ask. While she's trying to figure it out, what happened, Holly?
Well, because I'm in the insurance business, I deal with a lot of different carriers. I'm a broker. And so
Right.
they all have their own websites, their own rules. And sometimes you'll go to try to do something and it just doesn't work. So you have to figure out another way to do it, or call the company or call tech support, or
Oh,
so.
yeah.
That's how it goes in my business. So all I'm saying is, yeah, I'm used to that. That's part of every day for me generally.
I hear you. And I want to, I did put it in the comments, but Ray just texted me and said, by the way, I jumped in between the game half times. I don't know how the games work, but I don't even know what sport he's talking about. I think it's hockey. Anyways, he said that stupid fire alarm is driving me nuts. You got to get it fixed. I will have it fixed by next week, y'all. You will not hear that beep in the background. I told everybody last week, it's way up high. I don't have a ladder, but I've called the landlord, so we'll get it fixed. Sorry,
It's
Ray.
not letting me bring that particular. It's a
you
photo
open
that's saved on my computer, and it's not letting me bring it up.
Well, let me see if I can find like a video of Cyclops.
So for anyone then who knows about mandarins, if you guys do, or anyone else out there, are they picky about the type of copepods they eat, or
I don't think so.
or any copepods they'll be happy with?
Let me try to screen share this real quick. Anybody out there who's keeping mandarins? What do you guys think? Is it or are they picky?
Do they have discretion?
Right. Okay, these are apparently Panamensis, Apocycloxyphenomensis. They are tiny. Maybe that's what I've gotten there.
Yeah. They run about 200 microns or less when they're first born, and they max out at about 600 to 700 microns. So they're small. I got involved with them because of trying to keep raising tiny pelagic fry.
Right, exactly, right. And they're amazing for the reason that you described earlier, but I'll just say it again. The reason they're so amazing is because they don't require live phyto. So they'll eat, if you reach out to Chad, he can explain it in better detail, or watch the video we did interviewing him. But they will take the paste, or they will take the non-live phyto, so you don't have to constantly culture phyto too. You can just buy a bottle, and that's the end of it. And just one more quick share. This is the picture, of
that's a gravid female. That basically
eggs,
they
right?
carry the eggs in pouches on either side of their body, and ultimately what happens is when they're mature, she releases them.
Yep.
And
And
very
go ahead.
prolific.
And Holly Salty said, in my experience, mandarins are not picky. They'll gobble up all the goodies.
Oh, cool.
I
I
need to
see
turn the
that.
camera back on.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Hey guys, I'm
Yep.
going to sit out for a moment. I need to open up back.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Go take care of those seahorses. Cheryl,
Okay.
if you don't happen to come back though, I'll text you later, because I want to know where you suggest to buy amphipods. Because I'm thinking I want to put amphipods or mysids in the tank while I'm gone. Even though
I know that. She told us it's Are You Salty?
Okay, there you go. Go do your seahorses.
I wrote it down. I found it by mine.
Yeah, the amphipods, they've got, Fabian has a couple different websites, and you kind of type in aquacultured amphipods and check out the different websites, because the prices change sometimes. From them, I get my copepods from Reef Nutrition.
Okay, and this I'm seeing, and I'll share. Go ahead, Cheryl. Go take care of your seahorses. Don't let us keep you from the seahorses. But I was just going to show everybody else that when I did the Google, just like she said, it came up right away. And Are You Salty is actually aquaculture nursery farms, and I've dealt with them before. They're very good. It does get pricey, but that's where I'll be getting my amphipods. And
so are
possibly
amphipods pretty easy to raise also, like the copepods are?
Oh yeah, they're very easy. And I'm not. You guys talk about how easy it is, and I do agree. It's just I'm lazy, so I probably won't culture them. Right.
Sometimes it takes up space in your house, but I mean the copepods were nothing. Yeah, I mean I know they're just taking up space is all. So, but I think it's a good idea to have those on hand, especially for like if you have hospital patients and things, which you're never going to know when somebody needs to be in the hospital tank. Like I'm finding with Thing 2, he'll eat the live food. He's more ready to eat that than he is the frozen mysis, and you can gut load a lot of those things with medicine and vitamins and things for them that helps them. So I think it's probably a good idea to just always have some.
No, I don't disagree with you, and especially because of the experience I had where I didn't have anything cultured and waiting, and so I went out to get a treat for my seahorses, bought adult Artemia from a store, and now my tank is covered in these possibly what's the word, Holly? Cheryl just said it.
The
predatory copepods that are bugging the seahorses. Mermaid's Reef just said, I thought it was mine at first. I got so mad I just changed mine last week. I'm not sure what you're talking about. What were we saying? I can't remember. Let me know what you mean, because we'll definitely comment on it. But
yeah.
Anyways, but no, I used to buy.
Oh, I know she's talking about your smoke alarm.
Oh,
I just figured it out.
Gotcha. Ray thought it was his last week too. I'm so embarrassed.
Mine
I'm sorry.
was doing it. Remember, my roommate was cooking alligator.
Yep.
I had one doing the same thing.
Well, mine's just doing it because of battery. It's so I can't get up there. Like I've got a really tall kid, and I'm like trying to lift her. I got to get a ladder. So, and I got to get microscope to ID these stupid copepods. But anyways, I've always been the type that, as Holly said, having a live feed around that you can gut load, oh my gosh, is just so amazing. Not just for nutrition, but if if you need medications and whatnot. I'm the type that I feed the frozen mysis. I like Hikari and I like PE mysis, and then like once a month, maybe twice a month, I'll get them some sort of treat. Like I just buy mysis shrimp, or I'll buy, amphipods or whatever, brine shrimp. Obviously, that was a mistake. And just to say it again, guys, when I go visit Dan, we're gonna do either a live stream or a video where we go through, what I could have done better as far as making sure that the brine shrimp that I bought from the store didn't contaminate the tank. We'll talk about cleaning and all that stuff. We're going to do a lot with brine shrimp, Artemia, when I go visit him. But yeah, I know I'm rambling, but it's just great. I agree with you, Holly. I think it's really good if you have seahorses to have some sort of live feed on and around and ready. And amphipods and copepods are so easy. They're not as difficult as raising actual mysis shrimp or, even Artemia. I think Artemia is kind of difficult, but just because they get so dirty so quick.
I don't do anything with, you know what? I don't even clean their water. I have some now, the ones that I hatched when I thought Scrappy Doo was pregnant. They're adults now. They're probably getting close to the end of their lifespan. So that's what I'm using to feed my hospital patient. But I haven't changed their water. They're probably 2 to 3 months old, like at the end of their lifespan, kind of. And their water is actually pretty clean because the food sinks to the bottom. When you do the, what I feed them is spirulina powder. And I blend that up and keep it in a 2-liter bottle in the refrigerator. And maybe once or twice a week, I pour some in there, enough to turn their water green. And I do keep the water aerated pretty good. I have 2 air stones in there. But eventually what happens is that green water changes to normal color water, and all that food sinks to the bottom in like a green pile.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not
just
to
suck it up
and just let them eat whatever's in there and scoop them out when I need them and clean them, with the peroxide before I feed them to anybody. But I don't really change their water or any of the stuff that,
you're supposed to do.
I don't.
You know what I think? I think?
And they live, I think, doing that sometimes you kill them by accident and cause a crash.
Oh, you mean by cleaning or by not?
Yeah, because if you if you're changing stuff out, I mean, I don't know. I've just had the experience where they're hardy on their own if you leave them alone. And sometimes stuff, you pay too much attention to it and you screw something up.
Well, you know what I think? I think if something's working for you, it's working. We do this channel to give out the best advice, and on open chat, sometimes we just chat. But anytime there's a question, we do our best to answer it with the experts that we have and the hobbyists that we have. But if something's working for you, it's working for you. Good. That's it. And what I was thinking just now, Chad, like I said, actually, Reef Nutrition sponsors this channel. So if you guys want, let me know in the comments. I can get him back here. And instead of doing a really long interview, we can just, bombard him with questions, because I'm sure he would come. He would love to. He'll probably be a part of the 3,000 subscription or YouTube subs giveaway. So maybe we can get him back here and just ask him questions about the Apocyclops. I always say it wrong. Apocyclops panamensis, and tetrapods and predatory copepods, and just, how the best way, should you change the water? What should you do? All this information is available on Reef Nutrition's website, but sometimes it's just easier and better to hear it straight from horse's mouth, so to speak. Seahorse's mouth. And he kept seahorses. He bred and kept seahorses in his time. So he really does know, not just his specialty, which is copepods and all of that, but he knows how seahorses, what they like, how it's affected, kind of thing. So I'll reach out to him, see if he can come one week and chat with us. But okay, now that I'm done rambling, what else, Holly? You said your hospital tank guy is not doing better.
He's hanging in. What happened with him is, remember, he had the hugest tail bubble I'd seen on a seahorse ever. And what ended up happening, he went through 2 Diamox treatments. Actually, the one was 5 days, the very first one. And then we were discussing it, I think, here, and the consensus was, go ahead, try again. Yeah. So I did put him on Diamox again for a second time. And this time I didn't stop at the 5 days. I left him on it for 7 days. Okay. And during that time, he became a little less floaty, to the point where he can swim and he can control where he goes, but he's swimming upside down. He can hang on to stuff. But what happened with his tail is the tail bubble broke. Mm-hmm. And then he had a nasty hole in his tail. And gradually, he's off the Diamox now. I just have him on Sulfaplex and Canaplex.
Yeah.
But the hole is closing. His tail seems to be gradually healing.
Wow. That's good.
Slowly healing. But he's been in the hospital a long time. And just because he seems to have a will to live, he's eating and pooping. He's far from normal. I still have my doubts he's going to make it. But because he's still hanging in, I just keep treating him with the antibiotic and see what's going to happen. The last time he was on Diamox, he stopped eating the frozen mysis, but he would eat the live brine shrimp, which I was enriching.
Well, and that's normal. I mean, Diamox. One of the things about Diamox is that it makes him not want to eat. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and his first Diamox treatment, he never stopped eating. He had a voracious appetite the whole time. So the second time through the Diamox, after I stopped the Diamox, I wasn't feeding him. I reached a point where I'm like, he might not make it because he's not eating. I was actually going to put him to sleep. Mm-hmm. And then I discovered that he was able to swim. He will sometimes be at the top, but he doesn't have to be. He'll go to the bottom and hitch on stuff or find something to hang on to. And I noticed he was hunting the live food. So I'm like, I wish he could tell me, what he wants and how he feels. But
you know what though? But he is.
I'm going to keep giving you the medicine and trying to feed you. And as long as you're hanging in, I'm just going to keep doing it and see how it goes.
And anybody in the audience, if you have ever, or anyone who watches this later, I know a lot of people watch it after the live. If you have ever had an experience with, I'm pretty convinced that this is internal GBD, and there's just not a lot of information about it. Nobody knows really what's up with it. And I think most people don't even try to treat it. So you might have this breakthrough case where you figure out how to actually, it takes a lot of medicine, it takes a lot of time, but if he does live, cool. And I think he is telling you, Holly, because, if when a seahorse is done, they stop eating, they turn dark, and they don't hunt anything. You know what I'm saying? So if he's eating and he's he's saying, I'm fighting, mama.
I cleaned poop out today. So, poop means he's eating.
Yep.
And, he might not be eating much, but he's trying. And so, if he's willing to try, so am I. So that's kind of the approach I'm taking, and just giving him his medicine and fresh water every day.
He might surprise you. You never
And
know.
Yep.
I don't.
Hey, did you guys see that Lucy's picture of the seahorse with the huge
the Popeye.
Popeye?
Yeah.
It made a magazine, didn't it? Or maybe a magazine reshared it. I don't know, but
She
I
shares
don't
it.
know.
The thing is that
Oh.
seahorse made a full recovery from the Popeye.
yep.
And what she did is she treated it with Puran 2, triple sulfa, and Diamox, all three
Mhm.
together. And I was impressed because I ran into a problem with the San Antonio Aquarium, and they had a seahorse with Popeye. And I recommended the same protocol,
Treatment.
but I don't know if they ever followed through with it.
Mhm.
By
Well,
the way,
I mean, it's so. Go ahead.
I was going to say,
Cheryl.
new kids are huge.
Oh boy.
And they are, I ordered a yellow and orange
hmm
back in October. And not only, they're both orange.
Wow.
So I'm kind of like, woohoo.
Well, that's it. In my
You're
order,
just getting orange seahorses, Cheryl. You're
Yep.
having a lot of orange lately.
Well,
and in my order, when I ordered mine from them, I ordered 4 yellows, and I don't know if it was they were just being nice or what, but they sent me 2 orange and 2 yellow, or maybe they just felt like
Maybe
being
they
orange. In
changed
fact,
on the way.
I was gonna say what I'm gonna do because of the fact that I got. In case anybody isn't up to date, we're talking about Ocean Riders, orange and yellow seahorses that have been on sale recently. And Cheryl had such success with hers that she got that I was like, you know what? It's been a minute. I need new seahorses. So I got, like I said, 4 yellow, 2 came orange though. And my 2 yellow that I put in with Aphrodite in the all-in-one turned, because of the fact that I figured out that my yellow decorations were not saltwater safe, I took them out. So all that's in there is the curtain rod or curtain circular things. What are they called? Curtain hangers, I guess.
yeah.
That Heather recommends. And the seahorses do love, absolutely love. They're always on those things. And so I've got that hanging so they can go up there. And then I've got rock, which is like a, grayish, whitish color. And so the seahorses, and I do have blue underneath the tank, but it's an all-in-one tank. So it has a black back that I can't change, right? So they literally have black and then blue on the bottom, rock, and a thing. That's it. And so they've turned gray. They're pretty, but they're just not yellow anymore is my point. They'll kind of glisten yellow if you get up close. And it could have to do with lighting, but I'm thinking I'm going to try some experimenting after I get a couple fry from them. I'm going to try some experimenting and having more saltwater safe yellow and orange decorations and see if they turn back, because that's Cheryl's secret. I'm telling you guys.
The thing is that the beautiful young orange female that Alicia sent me, she is gone from being tangerine orange to being the most beautiful, clear, bright.
Oh.
I named her. I never named seahorses. I named her Celine.
What's her name?
Celine.
Celine. Oh, I love it.
Celine Dion.
Got it. But you know what, Cheryl, you are the master for sure. And I appreciate that you share all your good advice and how you do things. But I think we've talked before, I think it does have to do with genetics, but I also think environment is such a huge factor. And I think you just have figured out how to make their environment perfect.
Well, I've been, I had a reef, what I called my quasi reef tank before I ever got into seahorses. And I actually broke it down after I got into seahorses and stopped doing that. And it's like I'm constantly trying to push the window and find better ways to do stuff for them.
Yep. Well, once I get this website going, I'm putting up all your files and all your articles. They're all going up there with credit to you, of course, but you give great advice. Anyways.
Well, like I love. Did you see the what you see is what you get on Lisa's page?
I look at
Did you,
that now and
did
then.
you see that piebald that was dark on the top, gold down lower, and then had white in the tail?
Yeah,
You probably did. I don't always remember what's what, but yeah, I see her posts, I check them out, and yeah, there's some beautiful.
I kept looking at her going, "No, don't do it, Cheryl. It's the holidays."
Yeah.
Did you get
Well,
her?
you know what I found too is mine'll change, and some will more than others. Now, Sadie always wants to be white. And for the most time, she's very white, extremely white. And she'll change color now and then to kind of a cream color, but most of the time she's very white. And she's surrounded in the display tank by stuff that's not white. I only have one white hitch in the tank, and it happens to be Dandy's favorite hitch. And
Gotcha.
I'm not sure if she wants to be white
One second.
where
One
he's
second.
hanging out.
Kelly, she's no longer on there. Somebody.
Oh, I was looking for her. Somebody bought her.
Yeah.
They're still
Somebody got her, and I even posted. I said, "Will somebody please take this seahorse home?"
Yeah, I remember that. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
but no,
sorry,
as far as
just like I kept looking at her, going, "No way! I already got enough seahorses right now."
right,
But I've
and
seen Sadie go very white when it's like she's putting on a fancy outfit for Dandy.
Yes.
You know, the male seahorse that she likes. And so I'm thinking that may play a part in it too, is each other. Is if you have, you know, a seahorse that's enamored by another seahorse, they're probably going to try to keep brighter colors for that reason, perhaps.
Well, it's like I've got the one male who always brilliant yellow, and he's just always brilliant yellow. The female is a little bit lighter because she has a little on her keel. She tends to stay more white, but the rest of her they stay the same yellow. Then this orange female that Alicia sent me, I mean, she is drop dead gorgeous orange with white markings. And just the list, and these two that just came in, I wasn't expecting. Yeah, what I ordered was an orange and yellow combination, except they're
look at
both
that piebald. Woo.
very
Or pinto,
orange.
excuse me. Look, and red. I wonder if the red will ever come back. But
Years
and
ago,
I love the spiky barbori. Sorry, go ahead. And I was just gonna say, Holly, because we were kind of jumping around, and I keep screen sharing just because it's fun. But that is the most adorable seahorse picture, and there's nothing wrong with. I think white seahorses are gorgeous. I think my gray seahorses are gorgeous. But go ahead. Sorry.
one male who has a tendency to he's pale yellow, and when he gets in his moods, he turns white with these very faint they're very light beige lines, line seahorse, and he really is beautiful.
Yep.
But years ago, I actually bought a female. This is back when we couldn't get captive breds. She was wild caught. I called her Scarlet because she was scarlet red and never changed throughout her life.
Yeah.
One thing
talking about her. That's pretty amazing.
One thing I want to point out real quick is wait, hang on, Holly. Holly, hang on 1 second. I want to point something out before I stop screen sharing, and then I'll shut up and let you talk. But do you notice that in these brilliantly colored seahorses, the background is the color or blue. I mean, like not with abdominalis, but look at all the other ones. I think that's been a key trick forever. Look at the yellows, and then the whites don't have that blue background. They're in more of a regular tank. Orange and blue. I just think it's key. Period. Okay, I'll shush now.
Now,
Go
I
ahead.
use blue backgrounds in all my tanks, but not all the seahorses stay that bright a yellow. And they'll change. Like sometimes they'll be a bright yellow, and sometimes they want to be more of a drab color. You know, they'll be a brownish, or sometimes they get an orange. Mine don't stay the same generally, other than certain individuals. Like Sadie doesn't change much. But Candy, her mom, some days she's a brighter yellow, and some days she's like a tannish color, So it's for my
They change.
seahorses, it
Yeah.
hasn't been that predictable. They don't stay consistent all the time, but sometimes they get really bright.
Right. And I was as I already said, that I think my blackest black seahorse that ended up being more purple than black was gorgeous. I don't care what anybody says. And the brilliantly white, my Barbori, they were so white, they were and pinkish that they were almost see-through. That's gorgeous. I mean, I know everybody wants yellow, I know everybody wants orange or red, and that's really cool that when you can keep them that color. I think there are tricks, as you just saw me scrolling through. The ones that were brightly colored all had blue backgrounds and not much else. You didn't see rock or macros or anything. It's more like Cheryl's tank.
Well, it's like my tank, the one that some of these are in that really don't change. They have a black background. It was a used tank I bought. It was already painted. But the thing is, I have red, orange, and yellow hitches there. And I just traded some stuff out, clean stuff again, and I temporarily dropped a green hitch. Didn't change color. Didn't change.
Yeah, green
you said
seem to have an impact, I've noticed.
Green and red. I know they've tried to use red, but Dan said every time he used red, it turned the seahorses dark black. So I'm curious. I know that
that may be partly why mine got darker, because one of their main favorite hitches now is red.
I have a brilliant red hitch.
They were more yellow before I put that in.
I have a brilliant red hitch as one of the hitches in the tank. My orange female, my brilliant yellow male, that's one of their favorite hitches for two of them to hang out on. Yeah, they do not change color. Don't ask.
Right. I think genetics have to do with it, but I think if you really care about color, and I don't know why we went on this topic, sorry, but if you do care about color, my biggest advice would be blue background, yellow and orange decorations, no rock, have your rock in the sump, and just have it be completely, the experience that you want them to see and try to blend into, because that's what they do. They try to blend into their environment. And I know, some seahorses have the genetics that allow them, the chromatophores that allow them to, do that, and some don't. Like my Barbori couldn't turn, brilliant yellow if they wanted to. Well, they did get a pale yellow. Anyways, go ahead.
And that's the thing too, is like their hitches. That's good advice too, because that reminds me, I need to get another duplicate of this one hitch that's their favorite, because it's white, and when you put something in the bleach bucket, it's nice to have a identical replacement for it, so that they can hang on to the same thing while that one's gone. They have their favorites. I actually had to remove a decoration the other day because someone got stuck in it. And
Oh,
And
see.
well,
Well,
gold.
I'm so
But
excited
that
for Salty
gold-
Reef. Wait, Salty Reef announced last week that he is going to be making decorations that seahorses won't get stuck in.
Yes.
That will be saltwater safe. So Salty, we're still excitedly waiting. Let us know. We'll advertise the crap out of
Yeah.
it, and we'll put it in our tanks and show. But yeah, the other thing is, guys, if the number one thing when you buy seahorses is that they're healthy, and they're captive bred, and they, if you're into breeding, that they're able to breed, or just, watching they're such good entertainment. I mean,
Mhm.
they're so I just love seahorses. So
Yeah.
you shouldn't be in it for color. But when you look at Cheryl's seahorses, I just never want anybody to feel bad. And that's why I'm telling you guys, my yellow seahorses didn't stay yellow. I'm going to experiment and try to get them to turn back yellow just to see, but I don't care because they're healthy and they're doing wonderful. Cheryl has been doing this for 500 years. Okay, no, I'm kidding, Cheryl. But she has it down pat. She has the right decorations, the right background, the right chemistry in the tank, the right feeding schedule. I think feeding affects things too. She talks all the time about providing live feeds and gut-loaded live feeds. That affects it. I guarantee it. Lighting. There's just so many things. So if your seahorses don't stay brilliant and bright, if they're healthy and awesome, I want to see the pictures, and I love it. You know what I'm saying?
Also, keep in mind too, I have a separate fish room in my house.
Right. Exactly.
The only person that goes in there ever is me. In fact,
I'm about to go to Cheryl's house and be like, "Let me in." No.
And the thing
She'll
is,
put you in a hazmat suit.
they associate me with food. It's obvious when I walk in there, and they all come to the front of the tank or tanks, depending on where they're at, and they all swim up and they start dancing. And because I am the lean, mean food making machine.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what, you guys, let's be real. Cheryl speaks seahorse, and she goes in there and she whispers, "You guys, get brilliant yellow. I gotta get pictures." And they do it. Man.
No,
No.
what I do is I sit down on a bucket of salt mix, then I put a little pad on it with my bony butt, and I sit there and I just watch them, and they're hysterical. And
They're awesome.
I mean, I got one from Draco Marine, a captive bred male, many years ago. I'm going back close to 17 years ago. This male came in, and he was silver. I mean, brilliant silver. He never changed.
Yep.
He always stayed silver. And his mate, when he was pregnant, she would go search the tank for him every morning and find him. And then she would turn her head, just her head, the same silver.
Yes. And I think that's why I said there's just so much that goes into it. We've talked about this on other weeks too, but just, there are seahorses that are really strong and really stubborn, and they're like, "This is what I want to be, so leave me alone." I almost flipped you guys off. I won't do that. Yeah,
They're all different.
and I personally love the lightish, whitish, silvery, sparkly color. I mean,
I
think
do
that's so
too.
pretty.
That's actually one of my favorites, and that particular seahorse, she's just so striking, and she's got
Aphrodite is too.
really strong.
I got a male for you, Holly. I've got this my white male that gets the very faint beige stripes, depending on his mood.
That's beautiful.
And he actually has the silver saddle markings to go with it, so he kind of he glows.
Now wait, Cheryl, I'm curious. Is that white seahorse in with any of the orange and yellows or no?
Yes.
So
he was.
So they're not all yellow. You have
Yeah.
Even though they're in the same tank.
The thing is, typically my seahorses, when they're courting, they're going to change color.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's the first time I see them changing color. But again, it comes down to they have a very quiet, safe, secure environment. There's no people running around.
I think that you're right about that too.
Looking at them.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big factor because they associate me with food, and nobody
Yeah.
else ever goes there.
Yeah. I
They
kind
have
of
they have their own little
one
room.
too.
They
I'm a
have their
bunch
own
of
little
beggars.
ocean. They have their own little
Yeah.
ocean at Cheryl's house. It's a room confined. They're in water. Jeez.
Well, I have my display tank is in my living room, and I don't sit next to them too often. My little love seat is right next to them. But when I'm hanging out at home and I'm not too busy and I'm sitting there, they become little beggars. They're
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
watching me and they're like, "Oh, there's mom," and they'll do their dances and they'll go to the dish, and it's interesting. They'll act like they're eating to try and convince me to put food in the dish.
Oh,
They'll
that's
put the
funny.
dish,
That is
and they'll
funny.
go peck their little heads, and their eyes will roll and look at me like, "Are you seeing this? I'm trying to eat, and there's nothing in here." And it's like
love
they're
it.
willing me to put the food in, but no, they watch me and they'll come. When they see me, they're like, "Oh, you're home. Time to eat."
Have you ever
Yep.
noticed how seahorses are always starving?
Always. No, but I love that story, Holly. That is so funny. They're not stupid. They're very smart.
They're
And
not. They're smart, but they lack logic.
Yeah.
I found
Yep.
they know they're smart about stuff, but they don't have the logic of figuring out spatial awareness and things. That's how they
Right.
get
If
stuck
the
all
head
the time.
fits through, the body should fit.
Right.
Yes.
That is that is their biggest problem in a lot of cases.
So I don't know if you guys got it on my Facebook post. I had one seahorse Candy. I had a one of those fake sponges from Ocean Aquaria, and it had a space just big enough for her head, about like this, and it was lined up across from the food dish. So she kept trying to go through that hole. So I spun it around so the hole was in a different spot. And so she wouldn't try to keep going through that. And she stopped. So what happens? Scrappy Doo started getting stuck in the hole. So I stuck a fake plant in the hole, which is something I do in the grow out tank.
That's smart.
And the fake plants, I mean, they could obviously push it out if they wanted to, but they don't have the logic to figure that out. So I've discovered if you just put a fake piece of plastic plant in the hole they're
Yep.
trying to go through, they don't try to go through there anymore.
What I find funny about that, when we posted that, is years ago a wild-caught male Combs. He had always been able to swim between this piece of rock and the back of the tank to get through. And one day he was just way too pregnant and he was not going through. He would swim up there after he delivered. He would swim up there, look at that same spot. He never tried going through there again. And that really impressed the heck that really
Right, because
impressed the heck out of me that he
they
had
learn.
he obviously not only remembered the situation, but he didn't have the logic to say, "Well, I'm not fat, so I can fit through there."
Yeah.
But he remembered it getting stuck and did not go back there
Never
again.
go in there again.
Yep. I've watched seahorses learn things too. And they are learning who their feeder is and they know to manipulate. They're like,
Yes.
you're home.
Yes.
Here's some food. Right? Hey, Chimp, by the way. Hi. I'm getting ready to end it very soon, but so glad you stopped by. Really appreciate all you guys that come every week. I really, really do. Anyways, okay. Go ahead with anything you guys wanted to say because I am trying to end these sooner instead of 3-hour-long things. Go ahead, Holly.
And then maybe especially Cheryl can help me with this.
Yes,
because
please.
I have an RODI water maker from from
Oh.
Bulk Reef Supply.
Yeah.
And I'm still running at 0 to 1 TDS on the
Okay.
outcoming water, but the canisters are starting to turn brown inside.
Right.
How do I know when to change out my filtration materials in there?
And hey, we should also ask all the people in the audience, because Chimp,
Yes.
Salty, those people know. But go ahead, Cheryl.
When your depends on your TDS and your flow rate. If they start plugging up too much, you're going to get a terrible flow rate. You're going to get a huge amount of waste walking through, first of all.
Okay.
Secondly, if TDS starts creeping up, it's time to change your filters. And
what level TDS am I watching for? Because right now it's most of the time 0. Every once in a while I'll check and it's 1, and then it goes back to 0. My flow rate is slowing down. Like it used to take me about an hour and 5 or 6 minutes to make a 5-gallon bucket, and now it's taking me an hour and 12 minutes.
It's most likely has
How
to
do you control the flow rate?
You don't. It's just how long it takes to make the water, as far as I can tell.
Normally when you get a slow flow coming out through an RODI unit, it means your filters are clogging up. For me, I have a real problem here because I'm on a private well, and I have a lot of sediment, particularly when we get really heavy rains coming through. And what I literally did is I added a pre-filter, a separate canister, and I use that. I've got a 1 micron sediment filter that ever goes through before it ever gets to the rest of the RODI unit. And it's made a huge improvement.
And see, I think I have all that. I have pre-filled. It's like 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 canisters in a row. There's like 5, and then there's 2 that are the actual ones that get the sediment in it.
Well,
and
you should. I
don't know how to check the PSI. Chip the reefer says check the PSI of the flow rate. How do I do that? Is there a gauge on it? I have to look at it.
Yes, there is. There should be a gauge.
Educate us.
I'll have to go look at it and see. The only thing I've noticed is the TDS. TDI, where you hit the button and it says
TDS, yeah.
TDS, yeah. And mine's at 0, 1.
I mean, 0, 1 is good, though.
Mm-hmm.
So what'd you say, Cheryl? I'm sorry.
Well, it has a separate gauge that'll show you the pressure going through the system.
All right. I'll have to go look at that in a minute when we're done here and see that, because it might be a gauge that I just haven't looked at or paid attention to. So what PSI am I looking for?
Now, and actually, wait. Yeah, I was going to say, Chimp, if you can, in the comments, just let us know a little bit further, because I think I know what he's talking about, and I've seen the I can't even think of the word I'm looking for. The machines that have a round, like dial clock kind of thing.
Yeah, see, mine might have it, and I just haven't noticed lately.
Well, I know mine didn't. Mine did not.
Mine might not have one. I don't know. I know it has the TDS reader. I can read TDS coming in and going out.
Right. You should have 3 stages on the TDS.
Well, see, yours is already much better than mine, because mine I had to get a TDS stick meter thing to test it every time. So that's good that it's on the machine.
There's 5 canisters in a row that are membrane, and then I have 2 that are the sediment, like where those are the ones that turn brown. They have like the sand or whatever it is inside of them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I don't know the name of it.
Those are your resin filters. First,
Resin, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so I have two of those. And
Right.
so at the top of each of those, they're starting to turn kind of brown. And I've seen pictures online where they say once the whole thing turns brown, then it's done, I think. And the TDS tells
Right.
you that too. But I mean, there's other parts to replace. So I'm like, well, how do I know when to replace what? And I honestly, if I read about it on Bulk Reef Supply or so, I would probably figure it out, but I just haven't had time.
Sure. Well, and hey, that's what we're here for on Wine Wednesday. We're here on Wine Wednesday to share and to help each other. And Mermaid's Reef said when it changes to constantly 1 TDS after DI, I change mine. Is what she said.
That's what I'm looking for. So I'm getting there. I'm probably not quite.
Yeah, your DI resin should be color changing. And those are in the last 2 canisters before it goes into holding.
Yeah.
And what you want to look at is the color compared to when it's fresh versus
black color, and now it's turning brown.
When it starts turning brown, then you need to start looking into basically cleaning those out and then replacing the DI resin. The other thing is with your you have well, mine has a pre-filter that I added on to it. Then I have the typical 3 canisters. Then I have the 2 Film Tech membranes, which is something else that you have to. Well, you haven't had yours long enough to even worry about the Film Tech membranes.
Yeah, I'm thinking, when did I get it? May, June, July? It was over the summer, I think, if I remember right. I'd have to look it up. Everything blurs together. But yeah, so I'm thinking it's probably getting to the point, but not quite there. And it does take a little longer to make the water than it did when I got it, but not a huge amount. Like it went from an hour and 5 to an hour and 12 minutes to make.
Are you pushing your Film Tech membranes?
No.
Wait, what?
That been really slow. But I get in it. There's a little knob on the back of it, and it has a little arrow. And what you want to do is flush your Film Tech membranes if it's starting to slow down, because those have a definite impact on your flow rate.
Yes, I have to look.
I need to
Mermaid's Reef also said you might need to change the sediment more often if it's slowing down, and if it's changed to brown and it's 1 TDS most of the time, I change the DI. I have a question real quick. I know, Cheryl, you're trying to tell us something, but I wanted to show I'm cheap. Everyone knows that. I'm a cheap person. I'm not a cheap person, but I don't like to spend my money. That's a better way to put it. So my RODI system is something more like, I had the 5 filter, but more like this kind of deal, right? 150 gallons per day. And this is only 4. Mine had 5, but I can't even see inside of them. And most recently I had one crack. So I'm curious if anyone out there uses these kinds, or if I'm just in the Stone Age trying to be cheap. And
some of the first stages of mine are similar to that. I have one on top. There's a thing on top, and then there's like 5 canisters underneath, and then there's 2 on the side.
Hang on, we're getting ready to look it up.
Do you have 1 or 2 canisters?
Mine are from, if you go, because I'm not great at screen sharing, if you look at Bulk Reef Supply, I could probably pick them out.
Okay, I'm getting there. Are you still seeing?
I see yours at 150 gallons per day.
Let me stop and restart so we can get this figured out. Here we go. All right. Bulk Reef Supply.
I'll see. While you're doing that, I'll look on my phone and see if I.
We don't want your deal. Get off. Okay. All right. Love you, Bulk Reef Supply, but no. All right. So what now?
Keep going.
Okay.
Go down farther. Okay, well, there. Go back the other way.
Okay,
I think
so
this is what she has. The
are you
sixth stage.
okay? So I have one of those, but mine is more canisters. It might be
I can go
the
down.
one.
You guys
Let
just
me.
tell me.
I'm gonna type it in and see on my phone if I can
Yeah,
find
and then
it.
just tell me
So,
and I can find it.
four
There's 5
stage.
stages.
Mine might be the 4-stage value. Let me see.
Okay,
Right.
RODI.
Oh, here we go. I think it's 5-stage premium is the one I have. 75 gallons per day.
This guy? Oh, do you
Yeah,
have the little
That
blue
definitely
thing?
has. That's the 1 DI resin canister. I
mine
think what you
has
have
two.
is the
Mine has
2.
two.
Yeah.
Let me go. I'm gonna run to the other room real quick and see how many canisters because I want to say there's
There. I
4
think what you
in the
have
beginning and
is
then 2 on this side and
Wait,
one
like this,
on top.
Holly? Like this one? Where
Yes,
there's okay, so like
yeah.
this.
There's at least 3, maybe 4.
Like that.
okay.
Yes.
This
Let
has
me
2
run
film
down.
checks, 3 filter media holders, and then 2 DI resin
And
chambers.
Holly, when you go look, I see this little dial back here. I'm guessing that's the PSI.
Yeah,
That is
I'm gonna
your
run
pressure.
and look real quick.
Okay, we gotta know now. I'm gonna stop sharing, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the pressure gauge.
And Chimp said, I would like to say this before we go. Chimp said if it came with a TDS meter and flush valve, I'd imagine it has a PSI meter too. That flush valve thing, that flush thing in general, I've never understood it. We're gonna have you come on the show, Chimp. You're
Well,
gonna have to
your
help
your
us
film tech
understand.
membranes, your film tech membranes remove a huge amount of crap out of the system, and if you don't flush them on a regular basis, they can not only dramatically reduce your flow, but they're going to create other problems for you.
But the
And
flush is literally like running the water back through the other way, or what's the flush? What?
it's
Okay.
it's running it through the film tech membranes to clear them out.
Mm.
Basically, what you do is when you flip the little switch, it helps clean them out. From the,
Yes, I found it. I do have a PSI on there, and you can barely read it. I had to enlarge it on my phone and my reading glasses.
Oh
So,
no.
so I turned it on, and the PSI is 45.
Okay, everybody in the audience,
so
PSI 45.
And it's always been
You're helping us.
I
This is
don't
Wine
have
Wednesday.
a booster. I don't have a booster for the flow for it's hooked to the laundry sink.
Okay, can I
And
just
so
say
that's
why
another
is
thing
this
too.
shit so complicated? I mean, in my home, because of my pressure or something, I had to have a booster too. And Mermaid's
Yes, I
Reef said
don't have high
sediment, if flow slows down, change. Carbon, you can test for chlorine with test strips. I have the 7-stage Pro DI with a booster pump now, so I'm happy to help. Mermaid's Reef, come on the damn show. Sorry, but I hate this stuff too. I ended up at one point just buying distilled water because holy moly. I mean, every time I
That's
buy new
what I was using
filters.
before, yeah.
Well, and both ways are, it's better to have an RODI system, but if you don't really understand it, if you don't know, like I'm talking about me, not you, Holly. I'm saying if you don't
Yeah.
understand the boosters and the pressure and what the numbers are supposed to be and this, that, and the other, and the TDS and the carbon strips and the chlorine strips and all this stuff, then you're
How
like,
do I know? And then my water does not test for chlorine. I have no chlorine in the water here.
which is awesome. Which is
Or
awesome.
it's too low, like what they told me is it's too low to be detectable. And they can add chlorine now and then. I talked to the water company and they're like, it can vary because sometimes we will add it if we need to clean the water more or whatever. So it might not be consistent. But generally, I have no detectable chlorine in my water, and my TDS on the incoming runs at about 5.
Oh, hell no.
So,
You know what my TDS?
so I'm like,
Oh, no. My TDS of my water from my tap is like 450.
I remember you saying
450.
that.
I'm so jealous. But no, Chimp and Mermaids, we should do an RODI segment one of these weeks when you have time. Hit me up. We'll do one. We'll bring you in here. Chimp said 45 is low, but we don't know what it was before.
You know what? It's all. I remember checking it now that I know where the gauge is, all that, because when I hooked it up, that was one of the things to check. And they said if it's a certain level, you might need a booster. And I'm on the edge of that, and it's always been roughly that. It is slow.
We need you guys to come join us and chat about why we need a booster, why this shit doesn't just work. I'm just kidding. I know it's not the thing's fault.
It's
but
just
yeah, we need to understand sediment filter, DI filter. I just want the shit to work, you know? Good questions though, Holly. And Chimp and Mermaids Reef.
Yeah.
Hit me up. We'll bring you on the show. We'll make you special guests. We'd love to.
I just cleaned and went through and completely added new media and everything to my DI unit, I don't know, a week and a half ago.
And Chimp said, I feel like I only know the basic info. You're no RO whisperer. Well, guess what? You know more than all of us. So.
Yeah, I needed to know that. And I think the sediment thing, I think they're bored because they run 0 almost all the time. And once in a while I see a 1. And it's usually when I first turn it on. But I'm starting to see it kind of turn brown. And I'm like, it's probably getting close, but I don't think I'm quite there yet. So I should probably order the stuff to change it out and just be ready. And when I start seeing 1 more often, then it'll be time. And the other stuff, how often do you have to change that? Like the membranes and things, like, how about that?
The actual film tech membranes, as long as you flush them on a regular basis, should last a few years.
How often are you supposed to flush them?
Oh, so how do I flush? Is there, you said there's a switch on there for that or something?
Okay, over back, on the very back, behind where the big membranes are. Okay. There's this little lever. When it's closed, it's sticking straight up. You can take it and push it down and flush the film tech membranes, because then basically it runs it through the film techs and out onto the ground.
So
you have to
have it like that, you turn it on. So you turn that switch, you turn it on, but instead of making the Rodi water, you run it into the sink or something. So
exactly.
And how long do you do that, or how do you know when to stop?
Well, some of them actually have an automatic system that they automatically flush. The minimum is 30 seconds. Normally, when I do it, I pop that little lever to go do something else and go, oh, holy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And
for me, you leave it going for hours.
Does that mess it up?
Boy, forget. No, you're
Does
just
that mess it up if you
water, do? I think you're just wasting water, right? If you don't turn it off.
The thing is, I'm on a private well, and so I periodically, depending on the time of year and amount of rainfall we've had, I can get a lot of sediment in my system. And I actually have an actual 1 micron filter that is separate that I added onto the system as the first, before it goes through anywhere else in the entire system. And that filter I typically clean out about every 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, so I should probably do that and just run it, set a timer for like 5 minutes or something, and I'll be good.
Yeah.
Or less than that even.
My
water company says our TDS runs 25, 26 normally. is
thought
the
my
water
water was
damage
bad.
report. But
And the thing is, you never want to. You want to make sure that when it's coming through after it's gone through everything, you want to keep your TDS, depending on who you talk to, at least below 4. And I shoot for 1 to 2 max on my TDS.
So wait, so if you, because I don't have all the boosters and the filters and the sediment and all this stuff everybody's talking about. So, or PSI, I don't have any of that. But I do test the water once it's out with a TDS meter. And if I'm under 1, I'm good. Regardless
Yes.
of all this, I might be wasting water or it might be whatever. And yeah, I mean, you guys, even if you're not experts, you know, we're here to help each other. We would love for you to come on the show and talk to us and have an actual show about it, because Mermaid's Reef said that's cute. In the summer here, it's $7.98. I would love to know how often you have to change your filters, because mine at $450 is cray cray, and she's saying a month. And it's really hard to say you have to change your filters. Like when I got my system, it said change your filters every these filters every 6 months, and then these every year. And I'm like, yeah, right.
She's saying that swap the second to the first and replace one at a time. That's what I've heard. I read that somewhere too. So if I just turn them around, one's gonna take up the slack of the other, and they'll
We need your tips and tricks.
Love it.
Let's make a show of it. No, I know, but like if we made a show of it, then people would actually, come for that advice. So Mermaid's Reef, reach out to
It's
me.
like I'm the oddball because you can buy 10 microns, 5 microns, 1 micron filters. Everything in my RODI unit is 1 micron because I'm trying to get everything as clean as I possibly can. And that's why I added the pre-filter. But for a lot of people, it really isn't necessary to go to quite to that extreme. It's just me.
Well, it depends also on knowing your TDS to begin with, knowing what you're dealing with.
And see, I didn't know, enough about it other than, I checked the water report, like, Cheryl and I had talked about it, about how to do it. So I got a report from my water company.
Right.
And then the questions I had about it, I actually called them and talked to somebody about it and kind of figured stuff out. And they told me, how to read it and what things fluctuate and what doesn't, and that kind of thing. And really, it's kind of like the local fish store that we had in town before we had the fire here and everything burned. The guy there said, our water is actually really good compared to water in most places in the country. He says, so you're probably going to be fine using just the tap water and the treatment. So for years, until I could afford the RODI unit, what I was actually doing was using one of those bottles of like dechlorinator, water safe stuff that you add before you add water to the aquarium. And that's all I used. And for top offs, I was using distilled water.
Yep.
And then I finally got the RODI thing just this past summer. And I did a little research on it first and figured out enough to get it hooked up and everything. But I hadn't really thought much about it since, and I'm busy all the time. And I just kind of started noticing, it's starting to turn brown inside. And I'm like, well, it's probably getting close to when I need to change stuff out. But how do I know for sure? And what do I do?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So
that's
thank you, guys.
And not just that, we need to have an actual show on this. So I keep saying it, but you guys reach out to me if you want to come in. You don't have to be an expert. If you do want me to bring in an expert, tell me who you want me to bring in. But I think you're answering the questions just as good as an expert. And I have a lot of questions too. So let's do a dedicated show.
It
think
says right on where you buy it, it says membrane flush valve. Keep your RODI system running like new by flushing the membrane
You
for a
found
few
it.
minutes before and after each use. And I've never done it.
And
Right?
you wonder why it's slowed
So
down.
I guess I should do that, and maybe it'll.
The biggest
Maybe.
problem with the bulk reef supply RODI units is you have two film tech membranes on the unit that you have.
Mhm.
The problem is the way they plumbed them is it goes through one, then all the discharge water goes to the second one. In reality, you can replumb it. I probably shouldn't go there.
Oh no,
But
I should say you can replumb it, Cheryl.
you can replumb it so it passes through each membrane one time, doesn't go through both membranes and clog up one membrane more than the other, basically. It's a design flaw.
So is that what that tube is going across the top of the canisters? Or is
Yes.
it okay, that's I have a
Those
feeling.
white things?
The
Yeah, the
white.
white things.
Mhm. Okay, got
You just got, yeah, it's the white things on the top. There should be two of them.
yes.
Those
Yeah.
are yours for your film tech membranes.
So do I actually replace what's inside of those now and then? Or the whole white thing? And that's okay, yeah. And then the canisters are holding, other than the sediment canisters, the other ones are different membranes that I replace what's inside of there, right? Not the whole
Right. No,
purple.
you just buy filters. I buy filters in bulk.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
buy. I'll go out when I buy filters. I'll buy 20 or 30 filters at a time. I have a whole cabinet full of filters right now because I did that a few months ago.
So is there a problem with just using distilled water if you want to just use distilled water? Because the reason I ask is because some of the, waters on the market, they say distilled, but they're adding stuff to it. I just wonder if there's anything to worry about there.
When last year, when Texas had the power outages, I lost my water, my system for 7 weeks before I could get somebody to come out. During that time frame, I was buying distilled water, but I was making sure it was true distilled water and had no additives. And I think that I didn't lose anything, but it was one of those things where it was a real pain. And it's not the first time I lost my well years ago, and I was bringing in distilled water to keep my tanks going back then also.
Well, yeah, and buying distilled is expensive.
Yes.
It's costly. I mean, the RODI system is expensive, but not as expensive as buying. Right.
Well, and the thing is, when I was using distilled water, I wasn't making water for the tank out of it. I was only using it to top off for evaporation. So I wasn't going through tons of it. But to use distilled water to do a water change, that for me would be huge because I'm changing 40 gallons out a week in a water change.
I have set up an entire tank using distilled water because my RODI machine was not working correctly. So I have used distilled water to set up an entire tank. I know that either using RODI or distilled is really important because because when you use water that has all that crap in it, it's not only going to promote nuisance algae, but it's going to just mess everything up. So Mermaid's Reef said, this is another good point. Mermaid's Reef said, when it's cooler out, the TDS is always around 250 to 350. I have no idea why it gets so high. She was talking about 800 in the summer. It seems sketchy. Why would temperature affect it?
Are you living in a desert barriers, because what happened this summer is water evaporates, the water table gets lower. So it's like a puddle. Like after it rains, the puddle is full of water. But if it doesn't rain for a long time, the puddle is evaporating and then it becomes mostly mud. And that I can picture is what happens to our water sources. When the lake is full, there's more water than mud. When it's getting down to the bottom and they're pulling water from practically nothing, because we here in California, we have drought situations going on. We're losing a lot of water. And what happens, it's just like I said, it's like a mud puddle. It's cleaner when it's full of water. When it gets down to the bottom, then there's all the...
I'm thinking too that bacteria grows at a faster rate when it's, that has nothing to do with RDI, but I'm just thinking about it.
TDS is like particles.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking, that's why I said, I'm just thinking.
Think about it, in the winter when we have plenty of our water supplies, the fullest it's going to be generally in the winter or spring. So there's going to be less crap in it. When they're pulling our house water out of mud, there's going to be more mud in the water,
Yeah, but they have to be doing something to your water for you to have 5 TDS before it even goes into the filters. Like Mermaid's Reef said, I would change your sediment filter with your low TDS. The other stages could last a long time because I'm dealing with 450. She's dealing with
you got to remember
numbers.
Where I live. I'm a higher elevation. I'm not in a highly populated area. Our water comes from underground springs. Ooh. So we're not in like a typical city water area where I live. If I lived in the valley, it would be different.
Right.
But our water is mostly underground springs, snow melt, that's why, like, when you see me and you're behind me and there's huge trees, I live in the woods.
Right.
So I'm in a rural area. So it's not the same as if I lived in a denser populated area. Our water is cleaner to start with. And that's
right.
Why.
And Mermaid's Reef said distilled water can have copper. I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoa.
It can.
So now I need a copper test. I'm thinking we need to just do a show on this. That's what I'm thinking.
About water and water quality, yeah. But you can get a report, of what's in your water.
I did. It had arsenic. It had all sorts of crazy shit. I'll get my water report ready and we'll have a show on this. I'll try to get these key players in so we can talk about this more. But I am going to have to call it. I said I'm going to shorten these Wine Wednesdays, and here I am at 2 hours again. Damn it. But any last, Holly, I hope that the people in our wonderful audience helped you. And we will do a show on it. But for tonight, are we good? Can I sign off?
Yeah.
They're all like, listen, we want to talk. We want to talk all night. Well, Kelly can't. Okay. All right. No, I'm kidding. But we will come back next week. And you're in Michigan. Oh,
I was going to say that explains it. I saw that. That's probably why. Big city area.
All right. Well, reach out to me if you want to come talk about RODI and water quality. But for tonight, we are going to call it because Kelly's out of wine. But happy Wine Wednesday, everybody. Love you all. We'll see you next week. And cheers. Everybody say good night.
Cheers.
Good night.
Cheers. Happy Wine Wednesday.